Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brittney if you're new here, and we are a homeschooling, homesteading, farming, stay-at-home family, work-from-home family. Both my husband and I are self-employed, and so we are really just a home-based family. We do a lot of things here from the house, and part of that is homeschooling. And the reason we chose to homeschool might be different than what you think. So I've kind of always wanted to homeschool even before I had kids. I started kind of being interested in the idea of homeschooling back in about 2018, and my son was not born until 2020. So it was before I ever really even knew if I was going to have children, but it just really appealed to me. And the biggest reason that it appealed to me is freedom. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like being told that this is when you're going to do something, how you're going to do something. I am a very independent person. I kind of always have been. And I just really wanted to be able to give my children some freedom and independence and the ability to dive into things that they were interested in. And so that's really the biggest reason that we homeschool. Now, we live in an extremely small community, so some of the reasons that other families homeschool, which are very valid reasons, such as safety and concerns for how the education is actually done and the curriculum choices and things like that, those aren't necessarily our biggest concerns. Now, I'm not diminishing those concerns for other families. I'm just saying in the community that we're in, there's only about 800 people in this community. A vast majority of those people are related to my husband in one way or another, or he's grown up here. This family has been here for over 100 years. And in this small farming community, most of the families have been here for over 100 years. And so it's just not as big of a concern for us. I know that safety issues can happen anywhere, but that wasn't really the biggest factor for us. And as far as the education goes, we know most of the teachers. We like all the teachers at the school. Some of them are even family, so that also was not really the biggest concern for us. We kind of always have it in the back of our mind that if homeschooling does not work out, we feel comfortable enough with our children going to the public school in our small community. So it's not necessarily the reason that a lot of other families choose to homeschool. The biggest reason for us homeschooling is freedom. I want my children to be able to experience a childhood. They have their entire lives to go to work for 8+ hours a day, come home and do more work. I don't want that for their childhood. I want them to have chores and responsibility and learn the value of working hard, but I also want them to have the freedom to explore things that they're interested in, to play, to create, to just have time to be a kid. And so that's really the biggest reason. And on the days where it's really hard, because there is so many days in homeschooling that I'm just like, it would be so much easier if I put them in public school. I'd have a lot more time to focus on my work and the things that I need to do. I'd get a little bit of a break and they would still be learning. But on those days where it's really hard, I have to just remind myself of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture for me looks like my children being able to explore their interests. If they're interested in music, they've got several hours a day where they can practice and hone their skills. If they're interested in art, they have several hours a day where they can create and use those skills and figure out, okay, well, if I want to be an artist, what do I need to do? Or if they have an interest like I did as a child where I thought I really wanted to be a veterinarian, they can go when they're old enough and shadow a vet. And actually, we're friends with our local vet, so it could work out, and they could determine whether or not that is a career path that they want to choose. And if it is, then they have the time to dedicate to that. My son, he is so good with math and numbers and logic and building and creating in that way. I'm not necessarily that type of a person, but he is. And so it gives him the time to be able to go outside and explore and build and tinker. When my husband's working on the farm equipment over by the shop, a lot of times Miles is out there just nailing nails into a scrap piece of 2x4 or screwing in and learning how to use those tools. And he's just tinkering and figuring things out. And that is huge for their development. And he has the time to do that because he's not in public school. And we are fortunate enough with the way that we work and we're self-employed and we're here on the farm that we are able to provide that opportunity for our kids. I didn't have that growing up. My parents worked in healthcare, and so I went to public school. I had a great public school experience. I don't have anything negative to say about my public school experience, other than I do wish I would have had a little bit more time to explore and to be a kid. But that just wasn't how it was, and that wasn't the norm 30 years ago. But my parents worked really hard. They provided us a lot of opportunities that a lot of other kids my age at that time didn't have. So I don't have anything negative to say about that, but I do want to be able to do the best job that I can do in this current time for my kids. And one of those things is giving them the freedom to choose what they're interested in. Another thing that I am really trying to do a good job of is teaching my kids a work ethic and responsibility and the value of a dollar. When Miles was 4, we purchased him a bobby calf, and he was responsible for raising that bobby calf, bottle feeding it every day. I helped him mix the bottle because he's only 4 at that time. And I went out there with him and I taught him, some animal husbandry skills and how to feed and how to take care of that animal properly and how to be gentle with that animal. And so he learned a lot in that time. And when that calf was raised, we sold it. And the money out of that sale, he paid us back for buying the bobby calf, and the money that was left got to go to his bank account. He did give 10% of what he made to tithing, and we let him have 10% to spend on whatever he wanted. No questions asked unless it was inappropriate for his age or dangerous for his age. But he bought a couple of toys with it, and it taught him the value of a dollar. And he has money in his savings account, more money than most young teenage or young adults have in their bank account. And he worked for it. That was work that he did. And he has that in his bank account, and he knows that it's there, and it's there for when he turns 16 if he wants to buy a car, or if he wants to start a business of his own, or if he wants to buy a house. He is saving already at 6 years old for that. And that's because of what we're able to do by homeschooling and living on a farm. And it also taught him a very valuable lesson because he was so excited to spend that money. And after he spent it and he had those toys for a little bit, he was like, I'm a little disappointed. I like my toys, but I like the money in my bank more. And so at 6 years old, he's already got that concept of, should I purchase this? Yes, I have the money for it, but is it worth it? I think by us homeschooling and giving him that freedom, he is going to be set up for success in his young adult life, far more than the majority of public school kids, because they don't have that opportunity. Not necessarily a criticism for the people who go to public school, because I understand people have to work. We are very fortunate with what we have. And because of that, I want to pour into my kids and give them every possible opportunity, because it could be taken away at any time. I could have to go back to work depending on the economy, and at which point he would have to go to public school. But while we have the opportunity, I want to really pour into my kids and try to set a solid foundation for their future. I also think that it's just incredibly important for children to be able to explore what is interesting to them, not necessarily what their parents want them to be interested in, but what is interesting to them. So while we live on a farm, and it is a family farm, and I would love for one of our children to take over this farm at some point in time, I'm not forcing it. If they are interested in it and they want to do it, we have the time, the freedom, and the flexibility for them to be able to learn what they need to be able to do that. And that opportunity is there for them. That door is open. But I don't want to pigeonhole them into it. If they want to be an engineer, then I want them to do that. If they want to be an artist, I want them to do that. I want them to do what they want to do. But with us homeschooling, it allows them the flexibility to explore all of those interests. And so that's really the biggest reason that we homeschool, is just freedom, and because we can. And we're very fortunate. We live in Missouri, and there's not a whole lot of rules when it comes to homeschooling. Now, yes, we have certain standards we have to uphold, and I have a lot of record keeping that I have to keep. Not really a lot of record keeping, but I do have to keep record of everything that we're doing and the days that he's attending school and how many hours he's doing school. So it's not like we're just willy-nilly fly by the seat of our pants. And I kind of prefer that. I am not necessarily a super structured person, but I'm also not an unschooler. Like, I like to be somewhere in the middle where we have the flexibility and freedom to explore, but we also have a structured curriculum that we're following, and a routine and a rhythm. It just helps me kind of stay on track and know that I'm doing what I need to, that they're hitting certain milestones, that they're learning what they're supposed to be learning. And so far, we're ahead of schedule. He is actually doing math at closer to a 2nd grade level. We're kind of like right on track with reading and phonics, 1st grade level. We really struggled with it at the beginning of kindergarten, but by the end of it, it really picked back up. So he's kind of right on track with that. But then in math, he's way ahead of schedule. So having that kind of structure and record keeping just helps me to know, okay, we're doing okay. But yeah, that's the biggest reason that we homeschool. It's not necessarily for any other reason. If I had to go back to working outside of the home tomorrow, I would feel comfortable with our son going to the public school here in town. So it's not that I don't like our school here in town. It's not that I think that they're not doing a good job. I think that it's fine. And I also don't know that we'll homeschool in high school. I don't know exactly how far we'll homeschool. It really just depends. My husband and I reevaluate it every single year. So at some point he may go to public school. I'm not sure. But this is what's working for us right now, and we're really enjoying it. And having that extra time with my kids has been a true blessing. It's extremely frustrating at sometimes. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and tell you that it's just joyful all the time, because it's not. It's very difficult and frustrating from time to time. But it's so fulfilling too, and it's rewarding in the sense that I know I'm setting them up for success in their future, and that long-term goal of mine of them being a strong, independent, capable young adult and young citizen and member of society, that is what keeps me going. I just am trying to do the best I can so that my kids grow up to be good people. I think that's every parent's goal. So that's why we homeschool. It might be a little different than the traditional reason why people homeschool, but I wanted to share that with you. And I'm going to start a series as we get a little bit closer to the first part of the school year. Like I said in one of my other videos, we're going to be changing a lot of our homeschool room here. So I'll bring you along for that. I've got a few things I've got to get picked up as far as supplies go. We have our curriculum. It's all right here behind me. But we have some art supplies that we need to get for that curriculum, and we have some math manipulatives that I need to pick up. So as we go shopping for some of that towards the beginning of the school year, I'll bring you along for the ride. But I want to emphasize again, I will never show just a full day of us doing homeschooling or a full lesson or anything. I like to keep that part private. I love sharing with you guys that we are homeschooling, what we're using, what works, what doesn't. But I like to keep our actual homeschooling just between us. I think it's really important for me as a mom, but I also think it's really important for my kids as they're learning and developing to just not put that pressure on them, not have that distraction for them, and not make them feel like they're put on the spot. So I'll never share us actually doing homeschooling together, but I'll share some of what we're doing and what worked and what didn't, and some of the things that I'm excited about and proud of him for what he's accomplished. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked that video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I love interacting with you guys, and I have got to get going. My daughter's gonna wake up from her nap pretty soon, and I still have some chores to get done. So I will catch you all in the next video. Have a great day.